175. The House on the Hill. In northwest Calgary, just on the outskirts of the city in a forest, there is a small boarded-up house built on the tallest hill for miles. The only way in is through the cellar door. There you will find stairs that lead into the living room. Once entered, you will see a mutilated figure of a boy about 15 years of age facing the wall with his back towards you. If you close your eyes and count to 3 when you open your eyes, he will be in front of you 3 inches away from your face. If you do not flinch or gasp at his disformed face and continue to look calmly into his eyes, he will eventually give you a key that will open any door in the city. If as you open your eyes you get startled and jump, the boy will immediately run to one of the adjoining rooms and lock himself in. From that point on, you will never be able to enter your house or the house of any of your family and friends again. 177. The Sidewalk Chalk. Every summer, Canadian Tire rolls out these big black buckets of sidewalk chalk with transparent lids. Inside there's an assortment of all the usual colors, extra thick. But once in a while one of the buckets will be white with a black lid. If you see such a bucket, purchase it immediately and bring it home. Inside you'll find the usual assortment and 6 clear pieces. Use the clear chalk for hobo signs, magic circles, or anything else like that. The clear chalk leaves invisible markings. You'll be able to see anything you've drawn with it by memory, but things other people have drawn will be much better hidden. To see them, break one of the other pieces of chalk. It will crumble to dust in your grip and the wind will cast it around you. It will stick to the invisible chalk. Never do this in public, as the density of mystic patterns and glyphs in most of Calgary is prone to causing migraines. 178. The Liquor Store. The liquor store is nothing special, beyond that the owner is one of us. His stock, consequently, tends towards the sort of drink the awakened favor, strong and cheap. If you wish to learn more of the secret history, buy a bottle of Weiser's very old and ask the owner to share it after the store closes. Though he was initiated in the days before days and knows more secrets than God, he'll tell you nothing you couldn't figure out on your own. What he will do is nudge, imply, insinuate, help you think aloud. The old man who owns the liquor store is fond of cleverness, and if you surprise him with your acumen, he may smooth the city's rough edges for you. If you, like most, aren't clever, then you will have to ply him with his passion, liquor. Like most of the dead, he's constrained by rules and by customs. He cannot drink unless it is purchased for him, and he cannot forget unless he drinks. If you help him, he will owe you a favor. Forgiveness of a trespass against another practitioner, such as those described elsewhere in my notes, or perhaps something more mundane. However, if he realizes what you are trying to do, you won't make it out the door. Cleverness and whiskey are no match for a Smith & Wesson with more than a century of practice behind it. 180. The Mustang. Marda Loop is haunted by night by a Shelby Mustang without a driver. Every night, at 2 o'clock, it emerges from the parking lot outside Basil's pub and begins to drive in a slow circuit around the district. The car moves slowly like a prowling predator until it draws near potential victims, whereupon it suddenly accelerates and attempts to strike them. The car is responsible for a string of hit-and-run incidents over the past year and a half, before which it was utterly unheard of. However, if one can enter the car and take the wheel, the car will be pacified and its unique properties at the driver's disposal. There is no agreed-upon method for taking control of the car, and most who have tried have perished. However, if you find yourself in the driver's seat, turn the car to face any of the principal compass directions and hit the gas. The car will accelerate and seemingly pass through any obstacle unharmed. Depending on which direction you turned it, the car will arrive in a different land of the dead and remain, waiting to ferry you back to the city after you finished your business. 181. The Bloodstain. In a storage building near the highway, near the back, Eddie Decay rents a small space for the storage of a single object too disquieting even for his shop, a small square of wood taken from a downtown ballroom during the 20s. The wood was originally part of a dance floor, but it was ruined by a splatter of blood that struck it during a violent murder. The blood is perpetually fresh regardless of how old the stain is. To get to the stained wood, Break into the storage facility after hours and break open the rooms one by one. Decay moves the square every few months to hide it from would-be plunderers. Eventually you will find the room with nothing but the square of wood inside. Take it outside of the building and set it on the ground. When the moonlight hits the stain, it will warp and twist until it forms the image of a flapper with a long and ragged gash on her neck that drools sticky wet blood over her breasts. She'll ask you to dance. If you can dance with her until sunrise, keeping up with her dated but vigorous movements, she'll vanish with the rays of the sun. Her movements will have cast her blood, red blood, all over your body and clothing. Although no one else will be able to see it, for the rest of your life you will appear blood-stained whenever you look at yourself. The applications of this should be obvious. 186 The morgue. There is a morgue hidden beneath the coroner's office by the Colonel Belcher, right across from the Point McKay complex. To get inside, you need some means of picking the building's locks. The key will not do, as while the morgue survives amongst the ashes. However you enter the building, entering the morgue itself is far harder. If you break into the coroner's office, look for a small red button built into his desk. You have only a short time before you are noticed. If you find it, press it and dart through the panel that opens. Descend the stairs and try not to be bothered by the growing cold. Eventually you will find yourself in a morgue furnished and fashioned in a turn-of-the-century style. White tile that is yellowed with age covers the walls and floor and the drawers are fused shut. All except 3. Drawer 6 should never be opened. It contains the body of whoever opens it, and the autopsy wounds the body bears will soon spread, killing you instantly. Drawer 12 should also never be opened. It contains nothing but burning blood that will fill the room with unquenchable fire. Drawer 13 contains the body of an illegitimate saint who was martyred when the RCMP raided his home. Break from his dried body a small piece of flesh or bone or tooth, or else a patch of his clothing. Carry it with you always, and nothing dark can touch you. 187 The headset. The Viscount Bennett Center on Richmond Road is home to Chinook Learning and Westmount Charter School. The two schools share a library, which has a single row of aging computers. One of these computers has a large, rugged headset with a microphone connected to it at all times. The headset is never disconnected from the computer, but no student ever seems to use it. In fact, no one will notice the headset unless it is pointed out, and even then the most it will evoke is a shrug, and one of the morning students must have left it. However, if you put on the headset you will be immediately seized by a sense of nausea and foreboding. The headset plays no sound other than a vague static hiss until you try to type a document on the computer it's attached to. The headset will begin to scream. However, if you start to type the right word it will pause until you're done typing the word. Though no one has ever tried, it's assumed that with enough patience one could reconstruct the finished document. The only problem is that the words are in an extinct dialect of French. 188 The Purple Room. Enter any of Canada's railway hotels and check in. Bring no luggage and ask specifically for the Purple Room. After a few moments of insistence, the porter will acquiesce and lead you into the elevator. Using a special key, the porter will open the elevator panel and press a concealed, unmarked button. The elevator will open directly onto a parlor furnished in Edwardian finery. Everything in the room, the marble, the chairs, the doors, even the maid who greets you will be some different shade of purple. Ask to see the master of the house. The master of the house will be indisposed, as will his elder son, but his youngest son will come out to meet you. After excusing his relatives, he will answer any 3 questions you ask. Unfortunately his answers will only make sense in retrospect. The young man will leave after extending an invitation to spend the night. Accept and turn in early. Around midnight, the master's daughter will come into your bed and try to seduce you. Refuse. Her father's slightest gesture could seal your fate. Instead, ask her to tell you about herself. What she will tell you is the story of Earth but not of man. The story of creation and destruction. The story of the world itself from the beginning to the end. The telling will take all night, after which she will leave you. Leave the room and check out of the hotel without speaking to anyone else. 190 The church basement. Some years ago, one of the city's historic churches burned down and left only a vacant lot behind. In the years since, the lot has healed, leaving no evidence of the fire behind, and the contents of the church's basement utterly entombed. The one exception to this is midnight on saints' days that coincide with the full moon. On these nights, in the vicinity of the lot, time slows down and the night grows darker than dark. Moonlight refracts through naked air and the ghostly image of the church can be seen. Unlike other ghosts, this is utterly tangible. Climb the stairs and enter the church. It will take a few minutes for your eyes to fully register the interior, as you will only be able to perceive the vaguest outline of the room and its furnishings. The church will be as it was on the night of the fire, with ghostly flames burning the northwest corner. Once your eyes have fully adapted, approach the altar and cut your hand with a black-handled knife. Bleed atop the altar, which will slowly recess into the floor. The altar will descend 2 full stories. The hole into which it sinks has rough walls and should prove easy to climb. Descend slowly and carefully. As you descend, you will find yourself sinking through the earth. Seeing will become impossible for a time, until you reach the basement. The basement contains the bones and ashes of a handful of practitioners and priests who have come seeking what you are about to find. Located in this basement room is the Christ, still on his cross, still bleeding. 1 drop of his blood is enough to grant the strength to work miracles, but 2 will burn you to a cinder. 192 The video store. The video store is old and dingy, and some years back it transitioned from legitimate rentals to bootlegs and porn in the face of competition with the Blockbuster down the street. Finally, it gave up the ghost last August. The owner retains his lease, but the store is never open. Instead, he uses it to store his incredible collection of snuff, rarities and bootlegs, many of which are of more than slight interest. The owner never enters except late at night, so a daylight or evening break-in is your best chance. The store's latter days have left their mark on it, complete with discarded merchandise and sordid video booths at the back. The break-in will have triggered the owner's alarms, no matter how careful you've been, so you only have time to grab a video at random and run. Or else, should you be courageous, you can lock yourself overnight in one of the booths, as he's long since lost his keys. He'll leave at dawn, allowing you to escape. However, he'll turn the booth /on/. If your stomach is strong enough to endure whatever sadistic footage he's playing, you can escape unharmed in the morning, armed with the video you grabbed. None of them are in the correct case, and whatever system he uses to decide which cassette goes in which case is incomprehensible. It could be lost footage of the Kennedy assassination, it could be Margaret Trudeau's Rolling Stones sex tape, it could be any number of different trip recordings from acolyte excursions. Or it could be a homemade snuff tape of the last acolyte to be caught. 193 The Children's Hospital. Another email cut out and pasted in the book. The new children's hospital, the one that looks like it's all made of Lego blocks and shit? Have you ever gone in there at night, Sandman? I'll take you next time I go. It has to be seen to be believed. I was going there the other day to try and break into the pharmacy, save the lecture, Sandman, but the halls were all foggy. The ring I keep in the pocket, the one Eddie gave me when he was hitting on me in that cute turn-of-the-century way? It started burning, but I couldn't get the damn thing off. So I started to try to walk through the fog because, fuck, I'm not going to stick around in a place like that when everything starts getting creepy. At least, not without a shitload of backup. Anyways, so I was trying to get out, but the place was a goddamn maze. All those big plate glass windows were opaque, more like glass slides with blood caught between them than windows. And I swear to God, well, maybe not to God, that I was being followed. By what? I dunno. But by something. Look, let's go this Friday. We'll break in the same way I got in. I'll meet you at Sunnyside Station and we'll catch the train up there together. Peace and chicken grease. Nick Mahrez, 197 The Auto Body Shop. There is an auto body shop in Montgomery that specializes in outdated and obsolete models. They rarely do any business, but the owner comes in frequently to fool around with the engine on her car, although mostly she sits in the front seat and reads. If you can sneak past her into the ratty lot where she keeps a handful of moldering cars for parts, you will be rewarded for your efforts. This is harder than it sounds. Like most acolytes, her sense of smell is highly honed. Disguise yourself in the sense of the auto body shop, motor oil, sweat and metal. When you make your way into the lot, look for a tireless convertible. Break into the trunk and grab the first thing you can lay your hands on. Then run. Don't bother with sneaking. She will hear you, find you, and then it will all be over. When you get home, take a look at whatever you've managed to pilfer. It will be mechanical, of course, as that is the owner's specialty. Probably a car part of some kind. But it will feel warm and supple to the touch. With enough effort, it will fit into any machine, and confer upon it a blessing potent enough to explain why she hoards them so jealously. 198 The apartment tower. There is an apartment tower near the C train line that is always dark at night. The lights never seem to go on, or if they do, they never do on the north face. The building never advertises any vacancies, and in fact almost never gives any outward signs of being inhabited at all. The building's front door is always locked, but the side door that opens onto a nearby alley opens with ease. Unfortunately, the room on the other side is shin deep in blood. Close the door behind you and begin to ascend the stairs. Never ever leave the staircase until you reach the top floor, no matter what you hear or see. The staircase itself is tall and long and steep, and a steady stream of blood flows down it from the top. Once you reach the top of the stairs, you will see its source, a pulsating, bleeding tumor 5 feet across that has been nailed to the wall. Don't touch it, or it will release its spores. Instead, go through the door into the main hallway of the top floor. Do not let it close behind you. The walls of the top floor have been broken out and have been replaced with screens made of dried skin. If you touch it, it feels warm and moist, as though it were still alive. Some of the sheets have faces. At the center of this hall, you will find a man on a throne made of men holding awkward poses and contortions. He will smile at you, showing 3 rows of teeth, and offer you his hospitality. Do not accept. You do not want to stay in the tower like the rest of these poor souls. Instead, tell him you want to borrow a book. Carelessly, he'll throw whatever he's currently reading at you. It's entirely possible you'll be left with nothing but a wrinkled John Grisham, but for the most part, his reading material is far more interesting and esoteric. Bring whatever book he gives you to Eddie Decay, who will offer you something that isn't printed on human skin. 199 The Other Mall. Some of the stores in Northland Mall are open at 2 ends, letting customers pass through them while cutting from one side of the mall to the other. Recently, one of the clothing stores that's like this closed up the path by installing a set of changing booths and mirrored cheap plywood wall covered in mirrors so that the other half of the store could be lent to another tenant. However, there's something wrong with one of the booths. Enter the third booth from the left and be sure to bring a sack lunch. Turn around thrice anti-clockwise, and leave the booth. You'll find yourself in the other mall. The other mall looks just the same as a regular mall, except the stores are all wrong. Woolworths, A&A Records, Eaton's, every defunct company from the last 20 years. The products are even weirder. Instead of stocking normal goods, or even normal goods that have gone out of style, the stores stock things that never made it. Product ideas that died on the table. Amidst piles of anatomically correct dolls and surprisingly sharp-edged jewelry, amidst sweaters with 3 sleeves and all the other defective garbage, you can sometimes find a product that should have made it but didn't. Home cold fusion. The cure for cancer. Appliances that never break down. Anything that they're using the other mall to hide. The only problem is getting anything back with you. You don't want to know what they do to shoplifters on the other side. While a lot of the stories are cheesy, I enjoy them a lot. I also like the personal touches of including real locations. I feel like a lot of creepypasta will try to remain vague. But the key to a good scare is getting personal. I've never been to Calgary, but I can relate to the locations very easily, while a vague location will keep me from connecting with the setting. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to hit the hay.